Hi, my name is Ebony Witt, and I will be your guide as we go through business skills that you should know when working in El Salvador. So I'll give you a little bit of the history and background about El Salvador. The capital is San Salvador, and the population is about 6.2 million people. Spanish is the official language, but there are also other indigenous languages. The gross domestic product per year is $51.17 billion. Some major industries in El Salvador are tourism, manufacturing, and agriculture. From the period of 1979 to 1992, El Salvador had a civil war. There was fighting between military group and left-wing groups, and a lot of civilians were also involved with that, and it caused a lot of casualties. It's something that is still affecting the country today. Some current events, things that are going on in El Salvador. Agriculture. Coffee is the most important cash crop and has been for quite some time in El Salvador. The industry has been affected recently by invasive species of fungus that has been infecting the crops. This is leading to decreased harvests and then leading to banks not wanting to give as much funding to farmers. For that reason, many farmers are choosing to migrate to the U.S. in order to find work. Another issue going on in El Salvador is gang violence and extortion. It's estimated that about $4 billion per year is lost from businesses due to gang violence, due to extortion. The poverty rate has been declining over the years, but as of 2017, it is at 29%. And the murder rate has also been declining and is about 4 per day as of October 2019, which is down from 9 per day in 2018. The cultural profile of El Salvador. This culture is considered to be high context, meaning that indirect and nonverbal communication is most important. It is a collectivist society, meaning that the culture is more concerned for the good of the group as opposed to the individual. This culture has a high uncertainty avoidance, meaning that it prefers structure and security, rigidity, and clear rules. It also has a high power distance, meaning that people will defer to authority figures and expect there to be a power divide. 50% of people in El Salvador consider themselves to be Catholic, 36% Protestant, 2% other, and 12% no religion. About 86% of the population is Christian. The current president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, is an outspoken, self-proclaimed Christian. This is significant as Bukele has over 90% approval ratings with Salvadorans both home and abroad. Conversations and business are mostly formal. Humor is usually reserved for close friends or family. Time is more fluid. That means that it's normal to be late for events. However, one should be on time for meeting a business contact, especially the first time. However, you should expect that the meeting may not start on time. So now let's go over some rules and suggestions of doing business and what kind of etiquette you will be using as you do business in El Salvador. For greetings, you want to greet the person with good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the time of day, and address that person with their title and their last name. Do not use their first name unless you've been invited to do so. Physical contact is usually kept at a minimum, especially between the genders, but you can shake hands with that person. Physical space. In El Salvador, conversations are usually a little bit closer together as compared with the US. They get closer depending on how more familiar you are with the person. For eye contact, it is expected for you to have eye contact with the person. However, do not engage in a prolonged eye contact as this could be considered rude or threatening. For socializing, the conversation should be kept formal, but you are allowed to talk about family or work if asked. Some subjects to avoid would be religion and politics. With food, let's say you're meeting a business contact for lunch, they will always make sure that guests are served first. Make sure that you're using utensils to eat everything, even things that you wouldn't expect to use utensils for, use them. And expect to stay a while after you've eaten and socialize with the host. For clothing, your clothing should be conservative, it should be in style, it should be your professional business attire. For men, that's suit, tie, dress pants, shoes, and socks. For women, blouses, dress pants, skirts, any business clothing that you have. With negotiation, negotiation is usually about relationship building. Hard selling is not the way to go here. Um, and you should expect that negotiation is going to be something that's lengthy. It could take several days or months to come to an agreement. With gifts, they are not expected, but they are appreciated. And again, with communication, it's going to be indirect, so be careful with nonverbal gestures. Make sure that you're being respectful at all times. And also remember to keep humor to a minimum or not at all. I'm going to talk briefly about a company that is in El Salvador at the present moment. This company is Grupo Calvo. It was founded in Spain in 1940 by Luis Calvo Sanz. This company specializes in canned fish and seafood products. They built their processing plant in El Salvador in 2003. This plant now supplies products to Central America, the US, Caribbean, Mexico, and Europe. Some of the values of Grupo Calvo. This is found in their code of ethics: integrity, impartiality, legality, transparency, and respect for people. What these break down as is honest, moral, caring for the good of the group, being open, clear communication, following rules, and respecting others. I believe that those have contributed to the success of this company in El Salvador, as a lot of those are the values that are similar to the El Salvadoran culture. Some of those success factors also include power distance, whereas the home country of Grupo Calvo, Spain, and El Salvador both have a high power distance. They both have a low masculinity, meaning that the cultures are more feminine and more concerned about caring for others. And they both have a high uncertainty avoidance score. Another success factor of this company is its innovation. This company invented the first canning machine in 1956 in Europe, and also invented the round can, which was more practical for home consumption. Another success factor of this company is strategic planning. This company has the goal to achieve excellence and efficiency through technology, and it also has a goal of motivating and empowering its employees. Now, some challenges that this company may have already been facing or may face is the indulgence dimension of the Hofstede cultural dimensions. Spain scores very low, whereas El Salvador scores very high. This means that people in Spain, the culture in Spain is more towards not having much time for leisure getting work done, as opposed to El Salvador culture, which is more laid back, spending money, relaxing. That may present a challenge for this company. A second company that found success in El Salvador is the Bank of Nova Scotia. This company was founded in 1832 in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. It had expanded to more than 50 countries when it opened in El Salvador in 1997. The mission of the company is to help people improve their financial situation. The values of this company are respect, integrity, passion, and responsibility. So once again, we see these values being in line with the culture of El Salvador, focusing on the good of the group, caring for others, being respectful, being honest. The Bank of Nova Scotia decided to sell its locations in El Salvador to another company in an effort to focus on larger key markets. But even in doing this, the company's statement was that the reason for this was to provide better service to customers in El Salvador, to make sure that they were acting in the best interests of the company and of the culture of the customers and the employees and the shareholders as well. So even with that big decision, they still highlighted their need to care for others. And I think that has helped this company to be so successful in El Salvador. So, in conclusion, these are some takeaways from this global exploration that we have done into doing business in El Salvador. Remember to always be respectful, to be honest, and to be open about your intentions. Don't try to manipulate anyone if you're doing business in El Salvador. Learn to take things slow and realize that things like negotiations or meetings are not typical of what you might find in the US, and they can take a little bit more time. Always be clear in your communication and pay very close attention to your nonverbal words. Finally, be empathetic, care about what other people are going through. Understand that you're coming into a culture that has been changed dramatically by a civil war, and it's a culture that values hard work and perseverance. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all success in your global endeavors in El Salvador.